So these are all the other dependencies that we need. For example, this is Selenium dependency. And we also need Cucumber JUnit dependency. Where is that? This one, yeah. This is Cucumber JUnit and Selenium. And there is one more dependency. Forget about this JUnit. We already had that. So this is Selenium and this Peacock. This is also one of the Cucumber related dependency that we are trying to add into our project. So this is the first step that you have to do whenever you wanted to create a Cucumber project. So after that, you have to create a separate directory for the feature files. Directory features. So this is the directory where you will write all your feature files. Okay. And similarly, so under src, you have to create a you can directly you can just delete this file that this src is generated by the maven, but since we are creating a Cucumber project, we will have a different folder structure. So far we just have a features directory. So first of all, under src test java, whatever you write, you have to write under src test java. I'll directly copy this file. I'll explain individually what is the purpose of each and every directory that we have here. So under src, you don't need this main Java, but what each and everything that we are writing should be under src test Java. So here we have multiple folders, right? So I'll explain what is the use of different folders here. So here what we are doing is we will segregate the functionality of each and every folder in Cucumber. We call it as a page object model. So in page object model, what we will be doing is we will create a separate page file for each and every page of our web application. For example, my application has login functionality, and we call it as a login page and registration page, home page. So each and every page will have a unique Java class. So here you can see elements section. So in this elements, what I'll do is I'll create a separate Java file for each of the web page that I have. For example, I have a login page and home page. And in case you have a registration page, you will create a registration elements.java file. So the what is the use of having this particular mechanism is, so once you create your page object, you don't have to repeat the same page objects at a multiple different places in your projects. Once you declare login page here, whenever your scenario needs a web element under this particular web elements under this particular file, it can fetch with the help of this this class itself. So that is so that what happens is it reduces the maintenance of your project, and it will encourages you the reusability of the existing code. So that is the advantage of having a proper structure for your project. So src test java will create a elements folder. Under that, we'll create each and every web page have a unique Java file. After we have a unique Java file, so this is my unique Java file. What I'll do is I'll create each and every web element. For example, my login page has user ID, password, and login button. These are the three buttons that I need to interact on a login page. But we have to declare these elements with the help of a design pattern called find by. So this annotation comes from page factory pattern. What it does is, as soon as the web application login page loads, it will declare all of these elements. So whenever your test case needs any of these web elements, automatically it gets the it gets the locator of that particular element. So you can directly interact with that particular element by using these variables. So
This is
similarly,
actually confusing.
so while you start writing, you will understand like why we have to use this pattern, and what is the advantage of using this way instead of directly writing this. So earlier, what we used to do, we'll just add @test tag here, and
Yes.
we driver dot find element email. So whatever we have done until this line, right? The same
Yes.
the same code we are writing in a different way. Correct.
Okay.
Okay. So you might have get it out. Like we can write in this fashion itself only, right? Why do we need to approach for other ways? So for example, I have this same test case. I have a login functionality test case 10 times. So I have to write this particular lines 10 times, right? So in order to avoid that duplicacy, we are coming with this approach. So once you declare these particular elements here, you can directly use these elements with the help of this variable itself.
And this is possible only using Cucumber only, right, Mahesh? Then like this.
This is possible with the TestNG framework as well. So Cucumber is
Okay.
only for having this feature file and easily readable statements like this. This is
Okay.
so internally it uses TestNG or JUnit and then the Selenium WebDriver functionality. But the main use of Cucumber is to have a plain English language text for your scenarios.
Okay.
But internally, it uses TestNG and Selenium functionalities itself.
Okay. Got it.
So here, the first step, you have to create a page for each and every, Java class for each and every web page of your application. So inside that, you have to create a web elements. For example, your web application has some 10 elements. You have to create your 10 web elements like this. So you can see the difference. Like, for example, you wanted to find a in login page. Let's go to the bank application, bank project. So this is my login page. So far, I have created only the web elements for user ID, password, and login button. I also need to identify this element, right? So what I'll do, I'll just find the locator of this reset element. So you have this particular element has button reset as a name. So since it is a name, you have to use a, sorry. Uh, so this is common for each and every element. You have to use this tag called annotation called find by. So inside that you have to provide like you are able to find your element using ID. If it is ID, you can give ID equal to what is the ID. If it is name, you have to give name here and what is the name of your ID, locator. The same way, only the difference is the way of identifying your element is different. So for example, you can see find by annotation. Here, since we are trying to identify this email field with the help of ID, we are giving ID. But here what we are doing, we are able to identify those elements with the help of name. That's the reason we are passing name equal to and what is the name of my element. So here you can change anything. For example, if it is ID, you can change it to ID. If it is name, you can change it to name. If it is XPath, you
Okay.
can change it to XPath. Now you understood how to identify an element using this framework. We call it as Cucumber BDD framework with page object model. Only
Okay.
So the whatever the action that we are doing with the in earlier test-ng class, the same operation that we are doing in a different way. So now it is name, right? So I'm using name here, and below that you have to create a variable for this. Since it is a web element, you have to give web element. And what is the name of your button name? Since it is a reset button, right? So this is the name that you have to pass. So in future, you have to click on this reset button. You can directly call with the help of this class. So this is my class banking login elements dot reset button. So directly you don't have to write again driver dot find element by dot name. So you don't have to write those kind of lines again. You can directly call this class and call this variable. I'll show you an example as well. And this particular method is common to initialize the variables of this particular page and assign those elements to the driver object. So this is common code for each and every web page. Only thing that you have to remember is this, we call it as a constructor. So as soon as an object is created for this particular Java class, this will gets invoked. Only thing you have to make sure that the name of the method should be same as the class name. So if it is same, then only we call it as constructor. So in Java, what the concept of constructor is, so if you wanted to execute some piece of code as soon as your class is invoked, you have to add those lines of code in a constructor. So each and every page would have this particular statement. The only difference that you will see is the name of the method. For example, it is home page elements. So home page elements is my constructor name.
Okay.
Similarly, login elements. Login elements is my constructor name. So if you write some 100 pages, you have to follow the same structure. Only difference is you will have different set of web elements on that particular application. That's it. So this is about elements. So elements is this folder is specifically for identifying different web elements on my application. And then so since you have this is the first step, right? As soon as you started your Cucumber project, you will start writing a feature file. So for example, I'll try to write some new scenario. For example, I wanted to click on reset button. So I'll write a reset scenario in the same file. So the advantage of one more advantage of using Cucumber is you can reuse the statements as well. For example, each and every scenario requires a login functionality, right? I mean, it has to launch the application first. So in order to launch the application, we already written code in this statement. User is on bank login page. If you go to the inside inside implementation of this line, you will see what exactly we are doing. Normally, what we will do in order to launch an application, we will use a method called driver.get, right? So the same
Yes.
method. So for driver.get, we will pass the URL of our application. So similarly, what we have done is, so this is a common method we have created under common actions class. If you go to the go to URL, the internal implementation is same. Like it does the same action whatever we have done earlier. Driver.get and the URL, whatever the URL that we wanted to launch. So internal implementation is same, only difference is the way of handling things is different in our framework. So why, for example, you have some 4 to 5 developers and you have some thousands of test cases in your project. So you have to make sure if some one person A written some methods and the person B has to write the same code again. So that will make duplicate code in the projects. In order to avoid those kind of scenarios, usually everyone will come up with the framework. So everyone will follow some set of rules and policies so that the other person would not write code duplicate. I mean, he will not write any duplicate code, and he will first of all search for whether this particular code is already existed in the project, so that I can make use that particular code for my use case. So for example, this launching of application is common for each and every person, right? So they can directly use this method, common actions that go to URL. So whenever he needs, he just has to change this particular statement. For example, for this is a bank login application, I'll just give the bank login URL in the same method. If the person B has to work on some other application, he can directly update the URL itself. You don't have to change anything else.
Okay.
So now I'm trying to write a new scenario, right? So banking login application. So since launching of my banking application statement is already there, I can reuse that with the same step. Give user is on bank login application. So with this, only with the single line, I'm able to launch the URL. I don't have to write any code. I just copy the previous line, right? And similarly, user enters valid details. I can use the same details here. Like I don't have to write any code. Only difference for the previous scenario and the new scenario that we are trying to do is we are trying to click on reset button. Since we are doing an operation here, we have to write using AND condition. Click on reset button. So since this particular step is does not have any implementation, we have to write an implementation for this particular piece of step. So you can as soon as you hover on it, or you can select on it, you will see a yellow bulb here, bulb symbol here. Click on that and then choose create step definition. So what it does is it automatically creates a step definition. So step definition will be under steps folder. So I already have a folder created login steps under steps directory. So if I don't have any login steps file, I can create. But always remember all the steps file should be under steps directory.
Okay.
So it automatically generates this line, right? So after I got this statement, I have to perform a action called reset, right? So I'll write that particular reset action, and that action comes under which page? Reset action comes under which
Login
page?
page.
So that's the reason I'm adding that particular action as well under login action. Dot
Okay.
click reset button. Click reset button. This is the new method that I'm trying to add. So I have to add this method. I have to add implementation, like I have to write code for this particular button to click. I need to write a code to uh, click on that reset button. So if you hover on this, you will see a bulb symbol again, but this time it is in red color. Click on that. Create method in login action. So it will automatically creates a method in under login actions class. Now, so I have a method. I have a button already declared under bank login applications. So I can directly use that particular variable because I already declared that particular element under banking login elements. So as I discussed earlier, since I already declared this particular button, I can directly use this particular reset button with the help of class name. So let's go to our login actions. You can also take a reference like how we have done in our earlier methods. So directly copy the class name dot. What is the button name that we wanted to perform an action? Reset button.
Reset.
And what is the action that we wanted to do?
Click.
Click. So this is the use. So if you wanted to perform same action, some other action on the same button, you can directly use the same element. Since it is a button, you are clicking. For example, let's assume this is a input field where you have to pass some other email ID or any other phone number details. So you can directly just use the send keys. You don't have to write
Send
drive
details. Yeah.
driver dot find element again.
Okay.
So I'm going to bank login again. Reset. So I wanted to run this particular scenario now. Copy this annotation. So this is, so now we have used all of this action. We have used actions directory, elements directory, and steps directory. So whenever, so the first point is feature file. So you will create a feature file. So dummy.feature. So this is the first step. Whenever you wanted to add some new file, you can directly first of all come here and create your feature file. So after you create your feature file, you have to give the description of the feature, dummy feature, and then you have to give a scenario test scenario, and each scenario will have a given when then statements, right? Given when given user is on, when he performs some action on it, like when he enters valid details, then verify is logged in successfully. So this is the first step. After that, we have to write the implementation for each of the steps that we have given. So since it is already have an implementation, it is not asking us to write anything. But these are the two new statements that we have added. So we need to add a step definition for these files. So always, whenever you click on this bulb icon here, it will ask you to create step definition, means it will just generates a step definition for that particular line. If you choose all, it will generate uh, for example here two lines that are not have any implementation, so it will create a two implementations. And I'm again using the same file just for demo purpose. See, these are the two lines that are automatically generated. So if you observe these particular steps that we are added under steps directory, test steps directory. So once we have this steps directory, we have to add what action that we wanted to perform. So again, go to actions, enter login details, I'm just using dummy details here. So whenever you are using some actions, so those implementations will be under actions folder. And internally, if you go to the actions, it uses the elements that we have declared under elements folder. So now we have clear clarity. So what is the connection between each and every directory? So first of all, user will come here. He will write the feature file and he will write the steps here. So after he wrote the steps, he will write the implementation for each of the steps under steps directory. So after after this gets generated automatically, you have to write the actions for those. So from steps, the connection would be to the actions, and inside actions, the connection is to the elements. So this is the connection between first comes here feature file, and then steps, and then actions, finally elements. So this is the connection. Any questions in this?
No, Mahesh, but confusing. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to practice this, otherwise you will not understand. So this is the connection. And once we have established the complete connection, we have to execute our scenarios, right? So in order to execute our scenarios, this is the file to run our test cases, like in which manner we wanted to write, we can run with the help of this file. So this is a some specific syntax where you have to declare like where is the your feature files. So my feature files are comes under features directory, right? This is the directory name that I have to pass to this file. And steps. So each and every feature file is linked with different steps, right? So I have to give the steps directory. For example, let's assume this is not this is the not the directory name of this particular folder is step definition. Then you have to give step definition here. And these two are very important. Here what we are doing is we are linking the feature file with the step definition. And dry run, we will discuss about this later. And the tags is nothing but, for example, I wanted to run a particular scenario. I have already created a annotation above my feature file. For example, uh, banking login application. I have written this statement and I have to identify this particular scenario with the help of a unique tag. We call it as a tags, cucumber tags. So we have to copy this particular tag and paste that in my runner file. So that is the way how this particular test runner will identify which test I have to run. So this is the identification mechanism. So for example, I wanted to run some other test case as well. Then I will add one more. I mean, I can add different tags like this. So in an array, I can paste a number of tags like this. Second scenario like home page. You have to write under this home page equals y. Maybe I can just directly give comma, I think. So this is a way to pass multiple tags. For example, I have two scenarios and I wanted to execute two scenarios at the same time. Then I can directly pass those tag names by separating with the commas. So this is the use of tags, and we have for example, I have some 3 or 4 scenarios and I wanted to all the scenarios, and I'll give a common tag for all of those 4 scenarios. Like 4 scenarios would have this @login annotation, so that I can execute all the 4 scenarios with the by using just with this login annotation. And runner file, yeah. And one more thing, you can observe this. So you have earlier seen the test report gets generated automatically. So how it gets generated automatically is by using this line. For example, I wanted to change the name of my report. I'll just change to my cucumber report. It will automatically change the name of your report, but it generates like this. Since we don't have these tags, it will not might not execute yours. Let me go back to the previous, sorry. My cucumber report. So this is the report name that I wanted to give to my report, but I wanted to execute my bank login application. Bank login. So this is the tag that I wanted to execute. test runner. Let me run this. So this is one of the exception that you get whenever your feature file is not written properly. That means it is saying fail to parse resource at banking login dot feature. So if you go to the feature file, it will give you what is the issue with your feature file. See, so here we have written some scenario, but we have not specified with a scenario tag. So that is the reason it is unable to identify this particular scenario. So if you write scenario here, it will work. Means the structure of your feature file is properly maintained. Verify reset button. See, this time the report name got changed because whatever the name that we have given in our test runner, it will generate the report with the same name. Same report, only thing is the name of the report got changed due to we have changed the name in our test runner. Okay, so we already have this project in GitHub. Try to clone this project into your local machines. H&SS GitHub. Yeah. Yeah. So this is the repository that we have discussed so far. So it has all the code. So what you can do is you can try to copy this or you can directly clone this particular project into your local machines. Why it is not coming up with SSH? Maybe they have changed it some. Okay, you can also directly copy, clone this repository into your machine and try to practice any new scenarios that you wanted to, or you can directly try to execute these scenarios and not these scenarios, right? So in the same feature file, for example, if you are testing something in your bank application, you can try to add automated test cases for those manual test cases by using this framework. So I'm pinging you all these nodes in the chat. So please try to clone this and try to practice this particular feature file. In banking login feature itself, you can add some more features and we will discuss about those if you are facing any issues tomorrow session. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, then thank you.
Thank you, Mahesh. Good night.
Thank you, Mahesh.
Bye.
Bye.
I'll upload this in YouTube as well and I'll share you the links in WhatsApp.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Mahesh. Yeah.
Yeah.